I think my wife is starting an affair. So my wife and I have been married almost 8 years, anniversary is actually next week. We have 3 young children together, one of which has autism and both work full-time with long commutes. Stress is usually pretty high. We have had our fair share of problems in the marriage, fighting occurs semi-regularly, but we do love each other, I think she does. We had a big problem a few years ago where she caught me checking out some women in front of her while she was pregnant. She was really hurt and hasn't let it go. She said it changed everything in our marriage and things have never been the same. It hangs over us constantly. Other background is she had cheated numerous times in the past before being with me. She always told me that I changed her and caused her to want to be faithful and committed. I honestly believe she hasn't cheated on me with the exception of this situation and maybe some flirting here and there. So fast forward to now, 2 months ago she started a new job which requires her in the office full-time after working remotely a lot. One day driving together going out of town for vacation I saw a text pop up on CarPlay from some guy. I asked her who it was. She told me someone from work and acted kind of weird. We were on vacation so I asked why work was hitting her up. She said he was just saying hi. I got suspicious so when I had a chance I checked her phone. There were a lot of messages back and forth. Mostly just small talk and joking around, little flirty but nothing too bad. It was on my mind so a couple weeks later. Last weekend I looked again and there were a lot more messages, these ones being a little more flirty, saying things like, "You miss me," or "You're my favorite person at work," and meeting up for walks etc. I was more bothered at this point. We take the train home from work and normally meet at the train. I got off a little early and met her at her job. Knowing the guy was there I wanted to see them together. Sure enough they walked outside together. She looked surprised to see me but introduced me to the guy. On our way home I started asking her questions about him. I mentioned I had seen the activity on our phone online showing tons of messages and asked if it was to him. She told me I was being jealous for no reason and said they were just cool and, "He texts everybody." I kept grilling her so she ended up throwing in my face the incident about me checking out other women and got really mad at me, basically saying, "You have no room to talk." Also pointed out situations where I messaged back and forth with female co-workers in the past, in which there was nothing inappropriate going on at all. I offered to show her the messages. We kind of made up by the next day. So last night I checked her phone again. I see messages to the guy asking if he was surprised to meet me. He said yeah he was. My wife said she wasn't expecting me and he jokingly said, "Is he stalking you?" She said she deletes all our texts. I forgot to mention she's be deleting messages but not from her recently deleted folder. I wanted to keep things cool so I apologized to her for being jealous but asked her again to confirm I have nothing to worry about it, which she did. We ended up having sex and cuddling together all night. We were both getting along great this morning before she went to work. At this point I need advice. I'm basically buying time and trying to be very attentive, affectionate, giving her compliments, etc. without being overly needy or clingy. For the time being I want to make sure she's getting attention from me and less likely to need it from someone else. I get that it may be too late. If I bring up the texts I saw she will know I snooped in her phone, get defensive, fight with me. I'll push her away more and she will probably change her password and start deleting the messages from her deleted folder. I'll be in the dark and it's more likely something will happen with this guy. My hope, and I'm being naive probably, is that I can prove to her she doesn't need attention from anywhere else if I can step it up. I've been sick to my stomach these past few days. I see I barely eat and can't focus on work, my kids, or anything really. This is just weighing on me heavily and I can't get past it. Thanks anyone for reading and any advice. Update. 1 day past our conversation and things feel a lot better. She told me he has sent her some message to him, which she showed me. He was being a little flirty but she deflected. She's constantly keeping me updated if he's in the office etc. She told me it seems like he understands she's not engaging with him anymore. She's been very affectionate towards me since yesterday and communication between us has been very open. I've expressed to her, calmly without fighting or anger, specific things that transpired that upset me and hurt me a lot. Right now it seems she's remorseful and wants to make things work. We shall see. Guard is still obviously up, but I think I, hopefully, was able to navigate the situation in the right direction. Thanks again to everyone for their advice. Honestly, posting on here made me realize I absolutely need to put my foot down and say something. You guys might have saved my marriage. Clinking beer mugs. A few other things to point out. So I will say we share locations with each other through Apple. I can see where her watch and phone are at all times, and we also use Life 360, which actually notifies me when she arrives anywhere. BC of that, I don't think she's fucked this guy yet. Unless he ever drives to work and they go to the car or something, maybe, idk. The other thing I'm struggling with is dealing with this during the holidays right before Christmas. We have all these events coming up with friends and family. I'm so fucking sad, wondering if we should do Christmas as a family this year or just say fuck it and do shit separately. Thinking about breaking up our family, especially right before Christmas, is absolutely devastating. I want to cry, but I don't even think I can. I just feel numb. I picked her up from the train today as I worked from home and she was in the office. It's crazy when I'm with her how normal she's acting, and I kind of forget everything that's going on. So I noticed today, checking the phone message activity, there was a second number, same area code, she started texting with a lot. I was wondering if this guy has a different number. She asked me to grab her phone downstairs, and sure enough he said it's his work cell phone. There was a shitload of messages from that one saying how he's feeling her, misses her. There was something about her saying she's texting him on both numbers, so I don't see so many texts to his other number and get suspicious. She must think I'm fucking stupid. I told her last night I knew everything. I read the messages back to her. She did deflect and bring up the shit from my past. She ended up saying she knew it was wrong and felt bad. Said she honestly had no intentions of anything physical happening, but just liked the attention she was getting from him. Basically said she felt she wasn't getting enough from me, which could be true at times if I'm being honest, still no excuse though. She said she was worried I would find out, as well as her job, so she already wanted to end it. I told her she needs to stop or we're getting divorced. She said she would let him know whatever was going on between them is done and she would stop. Do I believe her a little bit? Yes. Do I still have some doubts? Yes. My guard is up still for sure, but I'm willing to see if we can work through it because I value our marriage and my family, and I'm willing to work through the bullshit. As far as her quitting her job, I am not asking her to do that. She was miserable at her last job. This one was a huge opportunity for her, big promotion, more money, etc. Not to mention with our mortgage, car notes, kids, debt, etc. we would be kinda fucked if she quit. Last night the discussion was back and forth and heated at times, but this morning was more calm and level-headed. She was trying to show affection towards me and letting me know how stupid she was, etc. etc. One more thing she said is it was never about him. She said it just felt good to get attention from someone else and it made her feel validated. Basically, if I say she's beautiful she thinks I'm just saying it. BC, I'm her husband, but if this guy says it he means it. I kinda believe that it wasn't about him specifically. BC, the guy is ugly as fuck, and in reading his texts he just doesn't come off as very intelligent. Using incorrect grammar like your BA. Your, which seems dumb, but it's a huge pet peeve to my wife, and I couldn't realistically see her being attracted to this guy. She said she was attracted to the attention and it was just a game to her. Do I think she was planning to fuck him? Maybe, idk. Do I think she did? I honestly don't. I don't think there have been any other incidents before this. BC, I've never had any reason to be suspicious until now. I also threatened to text the guy myself. She asked me not to. BC, she thinks it could end up fucking her over at work. Basically keeping that in my back pocket if necessary. Long story short, I'm not printing divorce papers today. It's not off the table. Gonna see how things play out for now. One day past our conversation and things feel a lot better. She told me he has sent her some message to him, which she showed me. He was being a little flirty but she deflected. She's constantly keeping me updated if he's in the office etc. She told me it seems like he understands she's not engaging with him anymore. She's been very affectionate towards me since yesterday and communication between us has been very open. I've expressed to her, calmly without fighting or anger, specific things that transpired that upset me and hurt me a lot. Right now it seems she's remorseful and wants to make things work. We shall see. Guard is still obviously up, but I think I, hopefully, was able to navigate the situation in the right direction. Thanks again to everyone for their advice. Honestly, posting on here made me realize I absolutely need to put my foot down and say something. You guys might have saved my marriage. Okay, so it's been a while, but here's an update. So things seem to be on the up and up at first. She was sending me screenshots of all the texts with him, which were all harmless. She didn't change the passcode on her phone initially. She said she felt violated. I stupidly just accepted that, but asked her to send me messages. From looking at the text log on the phone bill I could see the texts were going down from before, so I backed off. After some time I started checking again and noticed messages picking back up. Her attitude was basically, I don't want to have to send you messages every single time we text. We work together and we're still cool, so after being dumb and naive for a couple weeks I started grilling her more and she eventually said something like her and the guy have a connection. It's not romantic, but they are close. I was asking WTF that means. We end up having a huge fight. I demand to see messages, she refuses. I tell her she ends it immediately or we're done. She texted him right after that saying she can't text him anymore. Things cool down but I'm still super uneasy. I know I need to figure out WTF is going on, so I decide to bug the car. I order an audio recorder on Amazon and put it in the center console a couple days later. She ends up calling me a lot throughout that day. Runs some errands at lunch and talks to me the whole time. In thinking I bugged the car for no reason. Well, at the end of the day I leave work. I'm taking the train home and she's gonna pick me up at the station by her office, about an hour after I get off work. Instead of leaving work and coming back out to get me, she says she will just stay at work. Seemed weird to me. We share locations, so when I leave work I see she does a 1-minute drive down the street a little after 5 p.m. I'm like, WTF is she driving 1 minute for? I had already texted her I was leaving work and no response. So I start calling her and no answer. I text her and say I'm by her job to get her attention. She calls me immediately like, WTF. I said I was kidding and was trying to get her attention. I asked what she was doing and she said she just left. I said, oh, Life 360, the app we use for our location, says you left like 20 minutes ago. She said she was on a work call and had to move the car. Made no fucking sense to me, so I'm just thinking I'm gonna find out later WTF really happened. So later that night I put the SD card from the audio recorder in empty computer and find the recording around 5 p.m. Sure enough, she's in the car with him. They're looking for a place to pull over. I can hear them talking, then eventually she says, okay, go to the back, I wanna hug you. I must have listened 500 times to see if she said, fuck you, or, hug you, and I'm 99% sure she said hug. Anyways, after that the audio is harder to hear. I can hear them talking off and on for like 20 minutes but can't make out much of any of it. Definitely don't think they were having sex. I would have heard those noises. Anything else I can't say for sure, Bertha was talking off and on most of the time. So I listen to this after she's asleep. My heart is racing. My head spinning. At that moment I knew my marriage was over. I don't even finish listening. I feel sick hearing this. I go upstairs and wake her up and demand she tells me what happened. She's confused and didn't really have an answer. Eventually she admits he was in the car. Said she drove him to his car and she told him that she needs to end things with him. I asked her what else and she said that's it. I called her a fucking liar and left the room to go finish listening. She texts me from the other room to come back and I text her back I'm listening to everything. I told her I bugged the car. Soon went back upstairs and asked her WTF was going on. She was speechless and looked like a child who just got caught doing something. I've never seen her look like that. Eventually she tells me they were cuddling/hugging and she was on his lap. She said they never kissed but he kept kissing her hand. We always shower right before we fuck BC of her fear of getting a UTI which makes me believe she didn't fuck him, plus again it didn't sound like they fucked. We stayed up all night talking, fighting, crying. Just super fucking emotional. Her attitude was basically, I know I fucked up. I'm sorry. I know we're getting divorced and I fucked everything up. There's no way you will forgive me and no way we can come back from this. So next morning I'm still angry as fuck. She tells me no matter how I feel she's changing her passcode back on her phone so I have full access to everything and she's 100% done with him. Her response was basically he gave her attention. Since we have been together she never gave in to attention from other men but since she had been so mad at me for years and she was seeing this guy every day she allowed herself to give into it and needed to see if it went anywhere BC she had been questioning us for so long. She said she realized that I am better than him and she wants to be with me forever. She saw how much I fought for us and the extent I went to and it made her realize how much I cared. So anyways the next morning I tell her I'm texting the guy myself. I text him and tell him who I am and let him know to stop texting my wife immediately. I told him anything that's no professional work behavior must stop immediately. Dude responds eventually saying he respects it and he will stop but he come from the streets and doesn't take kindly to threats etc. I tell the guy I'm not threatening you at all. I'm telling you to stop anything inappropriate with my wife. If you want to talk to me about it man to man face to face we can talk about it. He doesn't say much else but agrees to stop. So, after a lot of conversations with my wife I find out the guy was falling in love with her. He was ready to leave his wife and everything. He ends up spending the next month walking around hella sad. I've been monitoring text messages and they have been very minimal. All work related and I've seen all of them, auditing against the phone bill. He tried emailing her personal email a few times. I read all the emails and my wife didn't really engage with him besides some very short responses, nothing inappropriate. Her phone is still unlocked and she updates me pretty much whenever they talk at work. My admitted it wasn't her intention going in but she ultimately felt like me checking out other women fucked her up mentally and this made her feel even almost and she can finally move on. That and it made her realize the grass isn't greener and also how much I do love her. So long story short we are trying to make it work. If I'm being honest I still have bad days where I think about it and am overcome with sadness, anger, anxiety, stress etc. etc. With that said our marriage might be better than it's ever been as far as us interacting. We're fucking all time, communicating very openly, very affectionate, etc. We've had hours of conversations about the affair. She has tried to run and hide from it. She is facing it and volunteering information. She tells me now she's disgusted with the guy and can't believe she did it. The guy is way older than her, really not good looking, makes less money than me. I can tell from his emails and texts he's probably not that smart, poor grammar etc. I really think it was right place at the right time for him. He gave her enough attention and she had so much resentment towards me she just gave in. She told me she has let that resentment go and her behavior makes it seem that it's true. We do love each other and in a fucked up way this brought us closer together. I truly believe things are over with this guy. I've told her if anything else happens it is 100% over with us. Fool me once, fool me twice, 3 times etc. The biggest struggle for me is wondering WTF happened over the couple months this was going on. I'm sure there are things I don't know. I've listened to the audio recording probably 100 times. I've tried using software to strip our background noise etc. but just can't make out much of the conversation. Not knowing everything kills me. She tells me she has told me everything. Of course I feel there are some details being left out, whether big or small. At the end of the day I have to accept it for what it is and decide if I can move past it, and I am trying to do that. I know a lot of PPL probably look at it like I'm a chump and should leave her etc., but I still love her and want my family to remain together. My guard is still up and I'm probably emotionally scarred for life, to be honest, but I'm trying to make it work. All comments, good and bad, are welcome. I know a lot will be bad, but is what it is. Anyways, since I caught her, our marriage overall has been getting better. She still works with the guy and they need to work together based on the nature of their jobs. She's unlocked her phone and has been transparent about their conversations etc., but this typically leads to me getting jealous and telling her how I am uncomfortable with how much they communicate, sometimes still taking walks during breaks etc. She claims they are still friends and basically there was a period where they weren't cool at all and it made work more difficult. He acted awkward around her at work and it was harder for her to do her job based on her need to communicate with him. I guess he still compliments her, telling her she's beautiful etc. Based on what she tells me, anything from her end would not be inappropriate if they had not had the affair. I'm only uncomfortable because of what happened in the past. There is a direct correlation between me getting mad about and bringing up the affair and our fights. When I bite my tongue we get along great. We've been communicating openly, way more affectionate, etc. In a perfect world this guy would be out of the picture completely, but he's not. So do I keep pushing for her to end her friendship with this guy or just let it go and try to move on if I genuinely believe she's not having the affair anymore? There's way more details and background in the other thread. It's a lot to read, so appreciate any opinions. Thanks. Just to add clarity, this morning we were in a great place. We were having a great conversation about our marriage and where we are. She started opening up to me about him and telling me he's been complimenting her, which I knew a little. She was telling me she will hug him sometimes at the end of the day etc. I started getting mad and saying I think it's very inappropriate. She shuts down at that point and basically said she knew she shouldn't have told me and knew I'd react that way. Ended up being a huge fight, which is still kind of lingering now. She is now saying she's not going to tell me anything else because of how I reacted. I don't think I acted that badly, but she seems to feel differently.